now. Imagine how much more incredible you would be in the classroom if you didn't have unnecessary paperwork, endless and pointless meetings during your prep time, and the need to work 2 to 3 jobs to supplement your salary. For too long, I didn't speak up for myself or my students. I was just trying to survive each day, and I got to the point where I was ready to walk away. But then I created a small Facebook group for South Carolina teachers, and I discovered that I was not alone. It wasn't just me. Whoops, sorry. That's where I rediscovered my voice and its power. And every day of this journey, I see more and more of you remembering the power of your voice. I hope that you look at those around you today and see that you are not alone in this journey. No, really, take a look around. You are a vital part of improving our beautiful state by investing in its most precious resource, our children. Do not let anyone take your voice away again. When we use our voices, we make education better for our students. Now, I want to take a minute to clarify some misinformation about public education and this movement. Number one, everyone thinks they understand what being an educator looks like. But I will say this, if you have not been in a classroom since Insta, Snap, and TikTok became a thing, then you don't understand. If you are not a classroom teacher, I am begging you to spend a day shadowing one. But make sure you wear your comfortable shoes. Number two, this is not just about increasing teacher salaries. That's one small aspect of this. South Carolina for Ed is much bigger than teacher salaries, although we do need a substantial increase. SC for Ed putting every classroom in South Carolina. That takes funding, and public education has not been fully funded in a decade. More importantly, this is about doing right by students. That means drastically reducing high-stakes testing at both the district and state level. Implementing wraparound services in every school, including social workers, mental health counselors, knowledge standards to skill-based standards so our students are prepared for the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd century. Number three, SC for Ed is made up of teachers, supporters of public education, including my parents, hey mama and dad, love you, and some trolls who we are working diligently to remove from our community. We do not have any dark money. We are not supported by an out-of-state national organization, and we do not have political ties. The board is made up of full-time teachers, which is why we often can't return phone calls and text messages until after 4 p.m. Our money has come from our supporters in increments as small as $1, and we are so grateful for that. This movement was created by teachers for teachers. I will close by saying that this is just the beginning. Margaret Mead stated, Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Our voices are here to stay, and we will not rest until policymakers at all levels do what it takes to allow improvements to education. So either join us or move out of our way. Thank you for all that you do.
Give it up one more time for Lisa Ellis. Up next, we have Miss Louise Brown. Louise Brown is one of the leaders of the historic 1969 Charleston hospital strike, a bold fusion of labor and civil rights protests that transformed South Carolina politics. Over the past 50 years, she has been a strong advocate for affordable housing, educational equity, and public transportation. Ms. Brown is also a leader of the Charleston Poor People's Campaign. Last summer, Ms. Brown and her friends in the Poor People's Campaign visited the governor's mansion to demand a 20% wage increase for all South Carolina teachers and public employees. I don't know about you, but that would have been very nice. She was arrested in front of Governor McMaster's home for taking part in nonviolent. Today, she is here to share her passion with all of us. Please welcome Miss Louise Brown.
Hey! Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so proud of the teachers today that you're standing up for what is right. Don't let nobody turn you around. Regardless of who it is, stand up. You don't stand up, you fall. Thank you, thank you. I've seen your teachers. I've been in your classrooms.
Right in there.
I've been in your classrooms. I've seen how hard you work. Yet the governor don't have no respect for you. He said you can't. You teach their sons and daughters, but you're not getting enough 20% wages. 20% is what we want. If we don't get 20%, we'll close the city down. We'll boycott. We'll boycott. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let us get some respect. They don't respect the teacher, nor the students. Because if they respect the teacher respects the students. What is wrong with the system today? It's back in 69. We have to fight for the same thing y'all are fighting for. Overwork and underpaid. We're sick and tired. We cannot let 69 come to 2019. You're smarter. Let us do something about it. Shut the city down. Tourists make money. We don't want tourists in our town unless we're going to get money. Better wages for everybody. Thank you, teachers. I'm proud of you. Stand up. Don't let nobody turn you around. Neither the governor nor nobody. Don't matter. Don't matter. Don't matter what they say about you. You know who you are. You went to college and became a teacher because you love it. You're worthy. You're beautiful. You're smart. Well educated. All right. Keep the faith. Don't turn around. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Turn me around. Turn me around. We ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up the kingdom way. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Great job.
All right. Can we get another round of applause for Miss Louise Brown? Before I bring up our next speaker, I just wanted to announce that according to Richland County Sheriffs, we have approximately 10,000 people on the state grounds today. Thank you. Thank you for making that happen. At this time, I would like to introduce a high school student who came to share a few words about education and what it means to him. Please welcome senior at Ridgeview High School, Riley Arford.
Good morning, fantastic, enthusiastic. Hence the enthusiastic welcome. While I was writing this, I thought about two ways to facilitate audience discussion. The first being that enthusiastic greeting, and the second being a little attention getter. We might wake up our sleeping Congress people. No, but seriously, my name is Riley Arford, and it's such a pleasure for me to be here today. Many of you guys might know me from my recent speech in front of the Judiciary Committee in February. On my family, and more specifically, my teacher mom. Unfortunately, my teacher mom could not be at that committee hearing, but she is here today. Can we all... Today, I would just like to speak briefly. This. Nothing contributes so much to tranquilize the mind as a steady purpose, a point on which the soul can focus its intellectual mind.
Keep going.
So look, I know your brains are scattered, but that's okay because that's not... Or is it to beg our Congress people to pay attention to us? No, our purpose here today, minds, because we will not stand for overworking our teachers, over-testing our students, underpaying our... Just yesterday in the halls of my South Carolina public high school, Ridgeview High School, I overheard another student say jokingly, man, they spend more on us than they do, or they spend more on prisoners than they do on us. You know, this state, so Corrections' most recent fiscal report for 2018, the cost per inmate every single year is $21,756 and rising. Now, South Carolina law calls for a mere $3,018 per student to be paid annually to our districts. Our South Carolina got me thinking. This little thing I heard of, you guys might have heard of it. It's called the school to prison pipeline. Yeah, this phenomenon states that children can be tracked into the prison system starting as early as the third. How about you save yourself some money on future inmates and fully fund that? I would like to address our state's educators, our state's brave educators. Bound to give us, but they don't. As a student, I want to say we see you, we thank you, and we're proud of you. Thank you.
Give a round of applause to Riley Arford. In School District 1, please give it up for Miss Beatrice King.
I'm not a teacher, but I have a teacher voice. Wow. I am so proud. Is Beatrice King. And I serve on the Russian 1 school board right here in Columbia. Russian 1, where are you? Well, let me start by saying that my statement here today thousands of children and parents. That said, a few of my the increasing teacher shortage, counties competing among themselves to attract teachers. Support you. Okay, so I am going to let you on a little secret. As a school board member, I don't know everything about education. I know, right? That's surprising. But you see, our votes on school board directly impacts the classroom and the morale. They affect students, teachers, staff, entire communities, and yes, even the economic development of your communities, like here. Mediocrity or failure. And as an elected decision. By the way, isn't that what we ask of our own students? That requires that I take seriously the input of the frontline folks like you, the experts, the consumers and providers of this product called education. That's part of the vetting process. which includes collaborating with all the stakeholders and certainly with you. Dangerous that many in the legislature are completely disregarding the input from teachers, education professionals, and yes, school boards when an education overhaul plan is drafted. We are not listened to and heard, and that's why I am proud to stand here with you. We have very similar agendas and issues. Let's name a few. How about the base student cost funding, which currently stands at a 2009 level? Hello? We're in 2019 and we're delivering an education package that's 11 years old. How about better teacher pay? Less testing. Flexibility on school start dates. How about letting elected officials like me make decisions on how to spend the money based on my school district, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. So when it is said that you, by being here, are not setting a good, you're not setting a good, who are not in education, are not experts, that are not listening to the teachers who live it day in and day out, and further damage public education, they're the ones that are setting a good example for our kids. Schools and watch the magic that happens every day in classrooms. Every day you get up and you stand up for children. Every day you go beyond the duties and beyond has forgotten to pick up or picking up little Johnny. I see you sitting and mingling with the kids on the carpet, lining up beads for a lesson on decimals. I see you acting, my dear Aunt Sally. You are in the cafeteria. You are in the hallways, breaking up fights and getting hurt in the process. Breaking up fight and getting hurt in the process, yet you come back to your classroom. I see standards that keep changing. And you still find the time to do differentiated instruction. I see you give hugs and high fives, wipe tears and little noses. I see you dance and sing and clap with all the kids that we have in wheelchairs. Look, the bottom line is I have tremendous respect for you and for what you do every day. And you are not alone, and I am not alone. We know that after a healthy, supportive, and nurturing home environment, the number one factor contributing to a child's academic success is a good teacher in the classroom, period. You are our greatest public servants. So let me close by issuing a word of advice. Listen up. Cast your vote in the June primaries for the House seats and keep a very close eye on school board candidates and elections. Yes, indeed. And thank you for choosing this noble profession and for serving our children. God bless you.
I teach, I vote.
I teach, I vote. I teach, I vote. I teach, I vote. I teach.
Thank you. Can we give one more round of applause to Ms. Beatrice King? Bakari South Carolina. He was the Democratic nominee for lieutenant governor and has been an activist fighting to end racial disparities in education for years. At this time, we'd like to welcome CNN political analyst Bakari Sellers.
Well, I love you too. Good morning. Good morning. Well, my name is Bakari Sellers, and I am from the big city of Denmark, South Carolina. That the two most important words in the English language are the words thank you, and they're not nearly said enough. But before I begin my brief remarks, I think that thank you is apropos. Thank you to all the teachers who have gathered here today. Thank you for all of those who are standing in the gap. Thank you for all of you all that took time to be here today. And from this country boy in Denmark, from the bottom of my heart, let me simply say thank you. I want to take us back for a second. I want to take us back to February 1st, 1960, when 4 young black men were freshmen at North Carolina A&T State University, and they walked into a Woolworth at 132 South Elm Street in Greensboro, North Carolina. You see, first they purchased some toothpaste and other sundries. Then at 4:30 p.m., they went and sat down at the lunch counter and ordered some coffee. Of course, everyone knew that the lunch counter was only for white folks. It was clearly marked and everything, so everyone expected the wait staff would refuse to serve them, which they did. Everyone expected the manager would ask them to leave, which they did. And everyone expected that the young men, educated as they were, would see futility of their situation and leave, which they did not. You see, in fact, they stayed right there where they were parked in those chairs until the store closed that night. And while this was certainly unusual, the good people of Greensboro thought that it was over. The young men had made their point and that would be the end of it. Life could get back to normal. But the next day they were back and they brought their friends. You see, by February 4th, the demonstrators had grown to a crowd of more than 300. And the fever had spread to the nearby Crest department store lunch counter, and it kept going and kept growing, and it kept spreading. In fact, on February 15th, the New York Times reported the demonstrations were generally dismissed at first as another college fad. This opinion lost supporters. However, as the movement spread from North Carolina to Virginia, South Carolina, and Tennessee, and involved 15 cities, some people wrote it off as episodes as the work of outside agitators. But even they conceded that the seeds of dissent had fallen in fertile soil. Look around you, ladies and gentlemen, and let me say that again, that the seeds of dissent have fallen in fertile soil. You see, I I am so damn proud to join you here today because I firmly believe, as Frederick Douglass said over 160 years ago, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. You see, there are people, and we know them, who profess to favor freedom and yet they deprecate agitation. There are people who want crops, but they don't want to plow the ground. They want rain without the thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the mighty roar of its many waters. You see, the struggle that we are on, it may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both. But it must be a struggle, ladies and gentlemen, because listen to me clearly. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. I don't know. I don't know, Representative Thigpen and Representative Ott. I'm starting to feel like this crowd might be on to something today. You know, such is the founding principle not only of this republic, but of all people who have yearned to be free. Teachers are no different. It was the moral hunger that drove these 4 young men to sit down at that lunch counter and the steel in their spines as they refused to be moved. It was the courage of a 21-year-old domestic worker named Sarah Mae Fleming, just 3 blocks away, who in 1954 picked herself up after being humiliated, assaulted, and thrown off of a bus just a few blocks from where we stand today. She stood down SCENG and everyone who ever told her you don't matter, you won't matter, there's nothing you can do about it. And she, by herself, changed the course of history, laying the foundation in action and law for another young lady who sat down 17 months later named Rosa Parks. You see, every single one of you all here today stand on the shoulders of Harry and Eliza Briggs. You see, Harry and Eliza Briggs, they sued the Clarendon County School District because the school superintendent refused to even provide 1 bus for transportation, forcing black children in their community to have to walk as many as 18 miles to and from school. And so that action, that refusal to remain silent, became the linchpin in the Supreme Court landmark case of Brown versus the Board of Education. And I will tell you this, it is the same spirit that you embody here today. It is that same spirit that emboldens us at this spot. And yes, our aims may be different from those historic milestones. Our policy goals and benchmarks may be debated in different committees. Our movement may be branded under a different headline, but the spirit is the same. And I'm a firm believer in spirit that all of you all have, because it's that spirit that drives us. It's that chorus that sings out from this moment, echoing all the way to a night in New England where a proud group of so-called agitators dumped crate loads of tea into the Boston Harbor. It is the voice of people calling out to power. It is your voice to people calling out to power, simply saying, listen to us. Now look, I have to be honest. You're the ones who live in the classroom. You're the ones who show up early and stay late to help the kids who are struggling. You go into your own pockets to pay for the supplies and take care of the kids that no one else wants. You're the ones who rise to the challenge every day, but they don't want to hear from you. And when they say that marching on the State House is irresponsible, remember that these are the same folks that are spending $700,000 to mail $50 checks. May I remind you that that is $96.7 million they could have spent on school improvements, and they say you're the ones being irresponsible. They're the ones letting the CEOs responsible for wasting $9 billion of your money float away on golden parachutes. But they're saying the ones walking out on obligations are you. They're breaking the law by underfunding base student costs and ignoring mandated caps on classroom size. But then they have the audacity to say that you're the one sending the wrong message. And while you take a second job just to make ends meet, they want to give $115 million in tax cut to a man worth $11 billion. I say, for what? Are the luxury suites at Panther Stadium just that nice, or do they just not care? Every elected official in South Carolina will know after today that teachers matter, that teachers vote, and teachers organize. Now, this is what you have to do. This is for you. The same way you sent them to Columbia and to Washington, D.C., you can send them home. Now look in the crowd. Look in the crowd and look who isn't here standing with you. Send them home in 2020. And I will personally work with all of you all to organize a PAC, to fundraise and elect candidates that fight for our teachers and beat candidates that... And we will beat candidates that fight for the Carolina Panthers but cannot find time to fight for you. Now, you see, the truth of the matter is this. You see, this is not a partisan issue. The truth is that when you ask Republican voters and Democratic voters, how do you fix education in this state, the answers are the same. Smaller class sizes, better funding for rural schools, and raised teacher salaries. The reason that I know this is because before any of us were Democrats or Republicans, we were students first. You know, before our heroes were Sean Hannity or Rachel Maddow, our heroes were the men and women who taught us long division. Our heroes taught us to use me and when to use I. Our heroes taught us how to read and taught us no matter how often we get picked on because we didn't have the right sneakers or our parents had to work late or we had a funny name like Bakari that nobody else could pronounce. That's okay, they're going to hear us anyway. It was teachers and heroes that let us know that we weren't alone. This isn't about Democrat or Republican, this is about right or wrong. And that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here too. But we can't leave it like that. We can't let this be about today or tomorrow or the next election or the election after that. You see, there are roughly 53,000 teachers in South Carolina, and we need every single one of you, not just in the classroom, but in the voting booth. Not just in the voting booth, but in the committee room. And not just in the committee room, but actually on the damn committee. We need you leading the charge. We need you running for every office. We need you working on the local and national level. We need you at the rallies and the presidential town halls for all the candidates that are coming through South Carolina. You see, I've made it no secret who I support. My candidate has committed to a platform that will raise teacher pay by 19%, reduce teacher turnover, shrink racial, gender, and pay disparities, and close the gap. But you know what? It's not about that. It's about more than that, because all of you all will have a choice to make. And make sure that whoever your choice is, you hold them accountable and make sure that public education is a top priority, because if you don't, who will? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a country boy from Denmark, but I'm coming here today to ask you to keep pushing. I need you not to just teach civics, but I need you to register to vote and live it. I need you not to just teach history, but I need you to run for office and make it. And at the end of the day, don't let this be the last time that we gather like this together. Don't let them forget that there are 53,000 teachers in this state. And just like those 4 young black men in Greensboro, you will not be ignored. The reason you will not be ignored is because this is a fight worth fighting. And if we stand together, it is a fight that we can win, because you are teachers and you vote. You are teachers and you vote. Thank God. God bless you all. God bless South Carolina, and God bless the United States of America.
Give a round of applause to Bakari Sellers. Educators, make some noise for yourselves. If you're proud to be out here to advocate on behalf of your students, make some noise. We realized that there was an important section of people that we left out when we did introductions, but we cannot forget them because they're the reason that we're here. If you are a student or a child, please make some noise for coming out here to stand up for your teachers, to stand up for your education. We thank you. Next up, we have a young lady who many of you have read about in articles that went nationwide. This young lady was an educator who left this year due to the overbearing demands of our profession. Please welcome Ms. Araya McCall.
The I can statement for today's speech is, I can demand better conditions for myself and my students. By the end of today's speech, you will be able to answer the essential question. How can I stand up for myself, my students, and my profession? Let's start with a formative assessment so I can gather some baseline data about this group of individuals. Thumbs up if you agree. Thumbs down if you disagree. I am happy with the decisions legislators make about education. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I am happy with the way the public perceives my career. Thumbs up, thumbs down. The current state of education in America is a sustainable model. Let's restate today's I can statements and essential questions. I can demand better conditions for myself and my students. How can I stand up for myself, my students, and my profession? All jokes aside, I am so proud of each and every one of you for showing up today. It was not an easy decision. You knew your students might not be able to attend school today. You knew that your choice to come here might have an impact on your job assignment or evaluations. You knew that people would demonize you for being here, but you came anyway. You gave up seeing your children today. You gave your time and effort to be here. Thank you. You might have been nervous when you told your administration you needed today off. You might have felt guilty this morning. But you vision of strength and knowledge, you are here. And I am so proud of you, and I hope you are proud of yourself too. It's time that we stand up for ourselves and demand people face the reality of our situation. You are not selfish for doing so. They're going to call you selfish. They'll throw out, teachers don't do it for the income, they do it for the outcome. When you demand fair pay and for the quality and quantity of your work. But I'm pretty sure that my students' growth data can't be exchanged for student loan debt. They will throw out extra duties and responsibilities and say, do it for the kids, when you tell them you don't have enough time in your day as it is now. They will blame you and public education as a whole for the faults of society, never realizing that the problems we see in our classrooms are just symptoms of America's greater problems. They will call you lazy, saying you only work 180 days a year while ignoring the work you do outside of contract hours, the part-time job you have, the trainings and prep work you do over summer. Is this what you thought teaching would be? Is this why you got in the profession? Did you go through all that higher learning for someone who has never been in a classroom to be the one making decisions for you? Did you want to change lives with less and less funding each year? Did you think that the state would keep passing waivers to excuse themselves from enforcing class sizes? Did you want to tell your students that education is the key to a successful life when you're struggling to keep yourself afloat financially? Did you want to participate in active shooter drills with crying first graders who can't tell the difference between reality and a drill? Do you want to spend all your time doing paperwork and arbitrary tasks instead of actually teaching? Do you want a second job on top of your career? It is time that we stop idolizing what we wish teaching was and look at what it actually is right now. Your elected officials are not listening to you. The public may say they support you, but they aren't prioritizing you. You're spending more money on your classroom than your supply check would ever come close to covering. You're following more state and district mandated directives than real research-based practices. You're listening to the public complain about how their tax dollars are going to some hypothetical overinflated school budget when they don't even know how schools are actually funded with Act 388. So let's restate today's I can statement and essential question. I can demand better conditions for myself and my students. How can I stand up for myself, my students, and my profession? Always make sure to restate the essential questions and I can statements at least 3 times per lesson in order to receive all the points you can on your observation. The observation that was scheduled for the morning after Halloween. We need to stop asking when something is going to change. Stop waiting for someone else to do it. You are goddesses and gods of education. It is time we model for our students those same values we instill in them every day. Be kind, be bold, know your worth. Use that growth mindset. You would never let someone treat your students the way you're being treated, so why are you letting the profession get run over? Stand up for yourself. Stand your ground. Say no. There is a net to catch you, but you must leap in order to know it's there. What is your limit? Where is your boundary? Find it and then protect it fiercely. Do it for your students, but do it for yourself. Teaching is not your calling. It is your professional career. Teaching is not your superpower. You went through a lot of school and hard work to earn your skills as an educator. Teaching should not consume every aspect of your life. You deserve to be a balanced person. You are not candles, and you cannot light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Stop voting for people that don't prioritize education with their actions. You deserve smaller class sizes. You need more planning time. You deserve fair pay. Your students need full funding. Stop letting legislators and other elected officials get away with this because they're pulling you on some other divisive issue. Make education your priority and back it up with action. Make the phone calls, write the letters, document all your contact. Talk to your friends and family. Demand your seat at the table. You deserve fair pay, equitable funding, and some respect. You are a beacon of hope in the battle for public education. It's time to act like it. Start using your teacher voice.
Please give another round of applause to Soraya McCall. At this time, I would like to introduce the South Carolina House Representative who has been fighting with us for positive education reform this entire legislative session. Representing District 93, please welcome Representative Russell Ott.
I love our teachers. Y'all have no idea how good y'all look right now. Listen, I'm nothing but a country boy from Calhoun County. I grew up with a mom that spent over 40 years in the classroom teaching high school English. I went to elementary school with people that are here today in Calhoun County at Ginyard. I went to middle school at Bennett Middle School in Orangeburg with people that are here today. And I went to Swansea High School with teachers that are right here in this crowd today. And let me tell y'all something. I wouldn't be up here talking to you right now if it wasn't for teachers like you every step of the way trying to make me better. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for my 11-year-old and my 10-year-old son. Thank you for being here for all of our children. Thank you for being here for the students of South Carolina. Quite frankly, thank you for being here for the future of South Carolina. You see, that's the thing. The naysayers, the detractors, the pessimist folks that have tried to shame and guilt you and minimize you into not showing up today, they think it's about you. They want everybody to think it's about you. We know it's not. I look out here and I see these signs. It's about the kids. It's about the students. Y'all, I know you're here. I know you're doing this for the students that y'all stay after school for to listen to their problems because they don't have anybody else to talk to. You're doing it for the students that every single day you encourage them to dream big, to think outside of the box, to think outside of the home they have to go back to each and every day. You do it for the students that you believe in. You do it for the students that you take money out of your family's bank account so that they can have lunch on a field trip or have supper after a football game. So how do we as a state then treat you? How do we as a state treat the most important profession in our society? We pay you less than the Southeastern average. We put too many kids in your classroom where you can't give the attention that you need. We overload you with paperwork to the point that you don't even feel like you're able to teach from day to day. And then after all of that, we judge you by a standardized test that we ask the students to take at the end of the year. So how does all of this end? What does this culminate into? It culminates into 5,300 teachers leaving the profession last year in 1 year. Folks, it's not sustainable. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can change it. We can turn things around. We can make public education in South Carolina better. So how do we do it? It's not a pie in the sky. It starts with people like me listening to people like you. If we're going to dig ourselves out of this hole, we've got to work together. 5 months ago, I sat down with a group of about 30 teachers. had an idea with a couple of my colleagues to introduce a bill called the Teacher's Bill of Rights. So we wanted to hear from teachers. So 30 of you from across the state came. I noticed that day that you didn't really believe that we were going to get much done. And unfortunately, you were right. But now, 5 months later, I'm standing here looking at over 10,000 of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, things are changing. There's a lot of people in that building behind me that won't come out to face you, but I promise you they hear you. And you can send a very strong message to those that don't want to stand and support you in November. I just want you to know that I appreciate you. I just want you to know that I care. There's other folks here that do as well. And I don't care how long it takes. We're not going to give up on this fight. And I'm looking at 10,000 reasons why I know we're going to win. Thank you and God bless you.
Give another round of applause to Representative Russell Ott. At this time, if you could, give a round of applause to the Mayor of the City of Columbia, Steve Benjamin. Coming to the podium is the Lexington County GOP Vice Chair and teacher at River Bluff High School who helped craft the Teacher Bill of Rights. Please welcome Mike Burgess.
Good morning. I can't hear you. Good morning. Welcome to the world's largest faculty meeting. Thank you to SC for Ed for bringing us together in the shadow of the People's House. And thank you to all of you for having the courage to enter this moral conflict between social justice and economic opportunity. Regardless of party, regardless of district, regardless of school, we stand together to fight for the future of our children's education. Today is a day for reflection and renewal, a day to reaffirm our commitment to the core belief that all children are entitled to a high-quality education, regardless of their zip code and regardless of their socioeconomic status. We believe that every child is a touchstone of value and is deserving of exceptional learning experiences built on the ideas and principles of equity and access. We have joined together as one to demand these beliefs that we hold dear become a reality. Not tomorrow, not next year, not next session, but now. Everything that makes our lives worthwhile, family, meaningful work, a place to call one's home, and a place to rear one's children, are opportunities created by a high-quality education. For too many of our children, these dreams for a better life have been swept away by a government that has failed to perform its primary duty, to educate the children of this state. A government that fails to meet the responsibilities that it requires of itself, voted for the people and by the people, violates the sacred principle upon which this nation was founded, that government exists to serve the people. We join here today to remind them of this fact and to call upon them to use power to do good, To use power to do good by ensuring the rights of every teacher are valued and protected in every school on every day. To use power to do good by reducing class sizes, so every child receives the individual instruction he or she deserves. Because too often we have overcrowded class sizes and we ignore the individual. To use power to do good by placing mental health professionals and SROs in every school in this state, so that our children are mentally and physically protected from harm. To use power to do good by fully funding public education as required by the law. Today is a time for choosing. We can leave here and allow the forces of the status quo to continue their embrace of the ease of running a minimally adequate public education system. Or we can demand that our leaders use power to do good through bold, meaningful, transformative education reform. There are no easy answers to the challenges we face in bringing about education reform. Only that we must do what is morally right for this generation and beyond. In the final analysis, the only limit to the realization of our hopes from tomorrow will be our doubts of today. Let us here today pledge to move forward with strong and active faith. For what we do here today, we do for the kids. For the kids. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless our students and bless this noble state we call home. Thank you.
Great job.
We're almost done. Make some noise. We're almost done. Make some noise. The House and the Senate is coming in and they can't hear you. SC for Ed.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Senator Mike Fanning. Next up is a House representative who put up several amendments that would have improved our situation in the classroom. Despite his efforts, some of those amendments were not passed.
Vote, I teach, I vote, I teach, I vote, I teach. So many have told us with their words but not their actions that they are concerned. But if you are concerned and not committed, then you need not be concerned. How do we show commitment? Tell them, show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. The reality is that those who control the purse strings think that they have the only power. But there are two types of power. There is organized money and there is organized people. And when people come together and demand a difference be made, there is no amount of money, there is no amount of controlling purse strings that can hold back the people. Frederick Douglass said, with no struggle, there is no progress. Make no mistake about it, every major gain in our country has come by way of struggle. The struggle and the tension that it creates is not comfortable, but you must remind them that neither is the situation that caused you to come to struggle comfortable either. It's not comfortable to worry how you will pay your bills. It's not comfortable to worry about can you control the size of your classroom. It's not comfortable to wonder if you will be measured by a test as if that is the only way to prove whether or not you're doing a good job. The powers of this state would have you believe that today you are neglecting your responsibilities. Instead of championing the concern for the future state of our education. The powers of this state would have you believe that today you are failing your students by your absence from class. But I know and you know that your presence here today is demanding that the leaders of our state prioritize education funding. As a matter of fact, as you stand here today, you are teaching an invaluable lesson. Many of you may be teaching the greatest lesson you will ever teach. For as your students look on, as you fight for what matters, as you stand together, as you demand the change that you so rightfully deserve, they are learning a lesson about what democracy truly means. So let me be clear. In the words of Frederick Douglass, power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will. Therefore, be not dismayed. Be not deterred. Be not discouraged. As a matter of fact, the sole purpose why I stand here today is to encourage every educator under the sound of my voice. Tell them that they have awakened a sleeping giant. I want to encourage you to voice your concerns. Be the vehicle for change. And ultimately, above all that you do, vote your conscience. As I hasten to a close, for too long our educators have sacrificed in silence. Teachers going into their own pockets to ensure that supplies for the schoolroom are there and available. For too long, our educators have sacrificed in silence as administrators have been asked to make miracles out of low funds and underfunding and lack of resources. For too long, our educators have sacrificed in silence being criticized for test scores and failing schools, when the fact of the matter is the legislator failed them first when they failed to fund. Educators have sacrificed in silence too long, as faculty and staff have seen their wages lag behind and not even keep up with the rate of inflation, as teachers have had to work 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Well, today, our educators have sacrificed in silence long enough. As seen in this red sea of solidarity that stands before me, education is the most noble profession on earth. No other profession shapes and molds and touches every other profession. No other profession is the one that creates our civilization and society. No other profession is the heartbeat of our communities. And how quick we forget that every person that now sits in the seat of privilege and decision, they would not be who they were. They would not have gotten where they were if it were not for the teachers. So I'm here to tell you, teachers, be proud. Teachers, be loud. Send a message to the State House. You either change your outlook or get out of the way. For those who are familiar with the Abrahamic faith, it was a Pharaoh who oppressed people. And Moses didn't ask for change. Moses demanded change. But yet still Pharaoh was not willing to change. He pursued them all the way to the Red Sea. And it was the Red Sea that ultimately destroyed and broke the mantle of injustice, that broke the mantle of unfairness, that broke the mantle of mistreatment. And today, as I stand before a different Red Sea, a sea of red that stands for educators, a sea of red that stands for teachers, a sea of red that stands for all those who put their lives on the front line to make a difference in our communities. This same sea of red will dismantle inequalities. This same sea of red will break down the injustice system. This same sea of red will make the difference. I vote, I teach, I vote, I teach, I vote.
I vote, I teach. Make some noise for Representative Ivory Thigpen. We know it's hot. We know you've been sitting here listening to people speak for quite some time, but if you're proud to be here today, make some noise. If the heat is not going to stop you from advocating for your students, make some noise. Next up, we have another senior who is going to come speak about her view on education and her appreciation for educators. Please welcome Tiana Thompson.
Good afternoon. teachers, school board members, community activists, and students. My name is Tiana Thompson. Wait, I've misspoken. I've forgotten some people. Can I try again? Good afternoon. Teachers who work more than 2 jobs. Teachers who are mothers, fathers, and sometimes even both. Teachers who are fighting for their rights. My name is Tiana Thompson. I am a senior at Ridgeview High School. Now, not only am I a product of the South Carolina public education system, but I owe my deepest love and respect for the amazing teachers who have pushed me to be the best I can be inside and outside the classroom. Like many students, I was a kid with a genuine personality, a good spirit, but I lacked a belief in myself. As the youngest of 4, I never stood out. I wasn't the smartest or the most athletic or the prettiest. Sometimes I was even called number 4. As the truth slowly became a reality, I found myself fighting every day for someone to notice or care about me, even as simple as remembering my name. But sadly, that day never came. So instead, I began to think of my life in the form of others, imitating their every move so I could somehow be important enough to be remembered. But luckily, that all changed when I got to high school, and I met 2 amazing teachers who changed my life forever. I was an impressionable 9th grader who thought I knew it all. Well, maybe I still do. But that all changed when I joined a program at my school that required me to take both intense and rigorous courses in order to graduate with honors and college credit. And although I was very smart, the immature preteen in me didn't feel like it was the best fit, because not only would it force me to give my all, but it also would force me to be vulnerable to failure. So in all dramatic fashion, I dropped out. I figured, why struggle in a program where I wouldn't be the best, where I wouldn't matter, where I would just be number 4 again? But my teacher, Miss Nicole Walker, had other plans. For she was a woman who didn't see her students as numbers or test scores, but her kids as people who needed her to push her and be there for them. Someone who said that if I quit on myself and quit on her, I was quitting on my future. But from that day on, I promised myself that I would never quit on her. And I will never quit on my future, because my future is too bright for me to dim the light. And when I realized my future was bright, I had one more task. I had to figure out what was my purpose. But that was okay, because I met another teacher. She may have not been the nicest, the friendliest, but she was real. Miss Agnes Knox was so real that she never let me have pity for myself. She never allowed me to cry in class, because she said, I will never want you to force the world to give you something that you won't give yourself. And in that moment, I knew she meant love, because throughout my life, I never truly loved myself. I allowed myself to suffer in silence and fear, because I was afraid that if the true me was shown to the world, no one would accept me. But that was when it was time to showcase who I was. I didn't even know. But because of her, I learned that I am beautiful. I am smart. I am kind. And I am passionate about my communities and others. I am a leader and an advocate for following just laws and working to eradicate unjust ones. But most importantly, I am someone who will stand here today and tell you that this moment is not a mistake, but it's the beginning to a new age, a new beginning. A beginning where the time and effort that you put into your craft and your students will be reciprocated. And yes, there may be consequences, but as my teacher told me, she can take them, because at the end of the day, she wants to be remembered for standing up and not sitting out when her people needed her. She wants to be remembered for fighting for our rights and the future of this country, her students. And I want to be remembered for giving myself and giving this country a voice. So I ask you, are you ready? Yes. I said, are you ready? Yes. Are you ready to stop worrying and in fear? Are you ready to use your voice and truly make a difference? Because time is up. And when I say pay, you say up. Pay, up. Pay, up. Times, up. Times, up. Pay, up. Pay, up. Times, up. Times. Up. So as the late Dr. King once stated, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort or convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Are you with me? Thank you for being in my life and being there for me. Thank you.
Give a round of applause to Miss Tiana Thompson. Is she not the reason that we are here today? Thank you so much for doing what you do every day. It's students like her that we are here. It is her story. There are so many stories like this across the state, across the nation. If it weren't for all of you, students like her would not have the story they have. Thank you for being an educator. Thank you for doing what you do. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. Before we wrap up with Senator Mike Fanning, we have House Representative J.A. Moore, who asked if he can come shake this crowd down and hype you all up. And I think all of us could use some hype on this hot day here on May 1st at this State House. Please welcome Representative J.A. Moore.
Is this on? How we doing? If y'all don't mind, I got to take this jacket off real quick. And I got to put my shirt on. South Carolina educators, are y'all ready? Listen, I'm going to have to be honest with y'all. Can I be honest for a moment? I said, can I be honest for a moment? Say, I put on this red shirt today in support of y'all. But see, I'm going to have to be honest with y'all. For over a generation here in the General Assembly, the Republican Party hasn't stood with us. Now, we got to be honest, so let's wear red today, but in 2020, let's vote blue. Let's vote blue in 2020, because for over a generation, the Democratic Party has stood for education. Let's vote blue in 2020 because we need change here in South Carolina. Well, I got to keep it nonpartisan. I'm sorry about that. But what I will say is this. During the budget debate this year, I put up amendment number 62. Amendment number 62, what it would have done for over 56,000 teachers here in this great state of South Carolina has given you all $1,600 of a thank you, well-deserved bonus. And what they did instead was say, we're going to give every taxpayer $50. And it's going to cost the state $700,000 to administer that money. South Carolina teachers, we have to stand up. This has to just be the beginning. We got to say, now what? We're here today, but now what? Now what? Well, what I will say, young man, is that you need to reach out to every single one of the members of the General Assembly. Not just today, but when we get out of session all throughout the summer. And then when session comes back in January, we need 10,000 of y'all here again. This is just the beginning, South Carolina. This is just the beginning, educators here in South Carolina. Let's continue the fight. I'm with y'all. God bless. God bless the state of South Carolina.
Give it up for Representative J.A. Moore. We have a few announcements before we let Mike Fanning come up. Because of the large numbers that we have been told we are no longer allowed to line up on Gervais Street for safety reasons. And while that's sad for us to hear, we want you to understand that that has happened because we showed up today and they didn't think that we would. That's something to be proud of. So we won't be discouraged by that. We'll be impressed by that. So with that being said, consider this a faculty meeting that may end a little bit early. There are a lot of restaurants who said that they support us and they showed it by giving you discounts. So I hope you brought that faculty ID. At this time, I would like to welcome Senator Mike Fanning, who will be quick, but who will also let you know that he appreciates everything you've done.
I can't hear you. Make some noise. I feel like it's 7th period on a Friday afternoon. I'm the last one. But listen up, listen up. You drove here today to make your voice heard. This is it. This is our last chance to make our voice heard. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Teachers, 3 words for you. First word, passion. Say it, 1, 2, 3. Passion. Second word, vision. Say it, 1, 2, 3. Vision. Last word is action. Say it, 1, 2, 3. Action. I'm going to begin those 3 words and I sit down. 3 words. First word is passion. Pastor Thigpen took us as Moses led us across the Red Sea. But I'm going to fast forward a few years because if you remember, the Israelites were lost in the wilderness for 40 years. And I want to now take you to the man called Jericho, the city of Jericho, and the man Joshua. The Bible, may I have your attention, please. The teacher in me will not begin. Can I get an amen? Joshua was ready to lead God's people into the promised land. But God gave them one charge to enter the promised land. And that was they were to march to the city. We marched to the State House. He told them to be loud and play trumpets and make noise. We were loud, we played trumpets, and we made noise. And God said, if you do that, the walls will come tumbling down. You are here today, the largest single gathering of teachers in the history of the state of South Carolina. And you have done something that my colleagues never thought you'd do. We showed up by the thousands. And we made noise. And the biggest thing is, we ain't done yet. May I have your attention, please? I want to thank you. I want to thank several people. First of all, I want to thank the strongest people in the world. And that is the people that have been holding signs up for 3 hours. Give them some noise. But I want to thank all of the teachers in South Carolina. You are never thanked by us in Columbia. I thank you, my colleagues standing beside me. Thank you for the work that you do for your children every single day. Give yourselves a round of applause. You are here today not just to tell us your vision. You're here today to tell us what you do. Because you leave your house each morning when it's still dark. Can I get an amen? You get to the school an hour early to do bus duty and make copies. Can I get an amen? And when that bell rings, you are standing in the hallway welcoming those kids in that you'll have for a whole day. Give me an amen. And when that day starts, that day will not end until the bell rings at the end of the day. You will not pee. You will not be able to communicate with your husband or your wife or your children like any other professional could do during the day. Can I get an amen? And then you enter your classroom. Classrooms that years ago had 20 students in it. But because of the neglect of this General Assembly, the average class size, by the way, you have been told that the average class size is 14. Here is $20. I dare any of my colleagues in the Senate of the House to go to any school in South Carolina, in any regular classroom, and find one class with 14 kids. But folks, when you go in there in a few minutes, don't stop there. Because, and I need this, I'm a Baptist now, I need some amens. That 30 has 7 kids on IEPs. Can I get an amen? 3 special ed students that are being mainstreamed to your classroom. Can I get an amen? You've got 1 ESOL student that doesn't even speak English. Can I get an amen? You've got 4 students that need mental health counseling. Can I get an amen? And by the end of the day, you need mental health counseling. Can I get an amen? You have 3 students with severe behavioral problems. Can I get an amen? You have 8 students. You have 8 students that are so advanced that if you're not challenging them, nod your heads, if you're not challenging them every second, they're going to become behavior problems because they're bored. Can I get an amen? And you've got 4 struggling readers that you're supposed to teach your content and teach them how to read all at the same time. And with these 30 kids, we tell you to differentiate instruction. We tell them that your 10th grade students better be reading on a 10th grade level, and you've got to teach them calculus all in the same year. Can I get an amen? You have to spend half your time preparing your kids to take high-stakes, standardized tests that will never do them any good. Can I get an amen? Those 30 kids, you have to play referee, counselor, mental health help, aide, make sure they eat, make sure they wash. You are responsible for those 30 kids. And how does your General Assembly support you in this task? South Carolina, we have been told over and over again, we need to be up in the national average in teacher and student achievement. But year in and year out, we rank 48th, 49th in teacher pay. I say that again, we rank 48th and 49th in teacher pay. We have a base student cost per pupil funding formula that's been around since the 1970s. And we haven't funded that formula one time in the last 11 years. And 11 years doesn't sound a long time to those folks, but that is an entire career of a student that enters the first grade all the way to their senior year. And you have been told the reason we can't fully fund base student costs per pupil funding is we ain't got no money. This year, the General Assembly had $1.1 billion extra dollars. Guess what we did to your base student cost funding? The House cut it by $18. The Senate cut it by $3, meaning whatever budget passes, you will get less money next year than you got this year per student. Is that looking after your students? Meanwhile, they try to shame, intimidate, castigate, and detriment you for not being able to speak out for your students. Passion, say it with me, 1, 2, 3. Passion. But passion ain't good enough. The second word is vision, 1, 2, 3. Vision. For lack of a vision, the people shall. For lack of a vision, the people shall perish. You know what the vision here is in South Carolina? Since 1998, the vision has been, if we could just test every kid, every grade, every subject, every day of the year, our kids could improve. You know what the vision is of this General Assembly? 8 people back in December got in a room and wrote an 84-page ed reform bill. Not a single teacher in the room. The House had one evening hearing. 1,000 teachers came. Everyone said it sucked. The bill passed the House 113-4. But before you blame them, if you got the same grandma I had, grandma said, be careful pointing fingers because you got what? It ain't their fault they don't know what good teaching and learning is, because you know what good teaching and learning is, and we haven't been standing up for our students. Can I get an amen? Amen. For too long in South Carolina, teachers have been sitting back and allowing non-teachers to set the vision for teaching and learning, and that's got to stop. For too long in South Carolina, we educators have been trusting our elected leaders to do right by the kids in the classrooms, and that's why we have the problems we are today. So I'm here today to challenge you. We need to speak up. And as I close, people ask, what is our vision? What is our vision? And as I go through our vision, we aren't here today to tell us we want something done in 10 years. The time is now. Let me hear you. The time is now. I can't hear you. The time is now. We have class size caps in legislation since the 1970s. These class size caps would keep your class sizes low. But your General Assembly has waived those class size caps for 11 straight years. Believe it or not, we do not need a bill to introduce lower class sizes. All we need to do is quit waiving the state law that mandates class sizes. I was told when we introduced an amendment that we weren't ready to do that yet. But the time is now. Say it. We are over-testing our kids. Make some noise. We are over-testing our kids. An old farmer told me, you don't fatten cows by weighing them. Every day those cows are on a scale, they're not grazing and getting fat. We are doing that to your children. Before the Education Accountability Act, we teachers could teach from the first day of school to the last day of school. Now we have to quit May 1st to do nothing but what? To do nothing but what? And those are a whole month of instruction we teach. We must reduce over-testing. And when should we do it? The time is now. Mental health counseling. How many crises need to happen in our schools? How many violent acts, student on student, student on teacher, how many of these have to occur before we wake up and demand mental health counseling in our schools? One half of our schools have no mental health counselors. The rest of you have mental health counselors on Tuesday and Thursday. I hope your student only needs mental health counseling on Tuesday and Thursday. We know the research has shown, Republican research, Democratic research, mental health counseling can help us meet the needs of our kids, which will help them learn in our classrooms. The time is mandatory break each day. We stand across from two gigantic, turn around and look, two gigantic office buildings where lawyers and doctors and architects all work. Do you think they have to hold their pee for 8 hours? As teachers, we deserve to be treated as human beings. Teachers need to be able to have a break to make sure that they can take care of themselves. Teachers also, and by the way, we need that break when? Now. Oh, you meant right now. I'm almost done. Teacher to retaliation. You have been bullied this week. You've been bullied by your community. You've been bullied by your own state superintendent of education. Bullying. If we want to present bullying, we first got to keep our teachers from being bullied. And therefore, when teachers speak out, we need to make sure we have an anti-retaliation bill in place that protects the rights of teachers. And we need that when? We need that when? We need to, at some point, turn control of the classroom back to the... At some point, people keep asking me, Fanning, what is the secret? What's the silver bullet? What's the program? The answer is, let teachers teach and students learn. We need to let teachers teach when? Now. And then we got to be willing to put our money where our mouth is. You'll hear people in here tell you they value you. I'm telling you, what I want you to say is, show me your budget and we'll tell you if you value us. We need to fully fund base student costs, and we need to do it now. We need to address our teacher supply problem, and we need to do it when? Now. 6,000 teachers left the profession last year. For some it was money, but others additional bureaucracy, over-testing, and a complete lack of respect for teachers. We need to respect our teachers, and we need to respect them when? Now. And finally, we need to make sure the number one thing that any legislator needs to hear from you of all the programs funding is that we in the General Assembly need to listen to you. And so I will conclude with my final word, action. Say it, 1, 2, 3. My wife tells me, don't tell me you love me. My son says, don't let me hear you talk the talk, Dad. I want to hear you. My preacher says, faith without is. We need to put our faith into action. Can I get an amen? And I close with an Ethiopian proverb. The old Ethiopian proverb that I used to teach when I taught world history at Columbia High School and Estill High School. And this old Ethiopian proverb says, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. When spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. Now, when you think about spiders fighting lions, No one ever believes in the spider. In fact, the only thing ever said about the spider was this little song. And it was all about this little itsy bitsy. And this little itsy bitsy spider went up the... And as soon as he got to the top, down came the... And... But then out came the... And dried up all the... And the itsy bitsy went up the spout. Ladies and gentlemen, I just described the day in the life of a teacher. You will spend your whole night planning the perfect lesson plan. Can I get an amen? And you'll get in there and you've got the music cranked and you've got your kids going, and all of a sudden, the water comes down. It could be a fire alarm. Can I get an amen? It could be unannounced testing. Can I get an amen? And we get washed out and we finally make it through the day and we have to start the whole day over again. We get discouraged when we're spiders. But I came by this morning to give you an encouraging word from the old Ethiopian proverb, which says, when spider webs, they can tie up a lion. We've got some lions in South Carolina. We got lions. We've got lions of underfunding, lions of crowded classrooms, lions of extra bureaucracy, making you spend pages and pages on SLOs and lesson plans that are required to be longer than a Hemingway novel. Can I get an amen? You've got lions of disrespect of your role in the classroom. You've got lions of a fortress of not willing to change, 11 straight years of underfunding. But I dropped by to tell you that when spider webs, they can do what? I'm not asking you to work harder. I'm not asking you to work smarter. I'm only asking you, teachers, when you spin your webs that you do every single day, spin them together. You blew people's minds today. No one expected over 10,000 teachers to show up. But I remind you, each of you showed up. But if one of you had showed up yesterday, it would not have been as nearly as powerful as you showing up with 9,999 of your fellow teachers. There is power in numbers. But the work has just begun. Remember, action is our last word. Say it with me, 1, 2, 3. Action. The work only begins today. I need you to, when this is done, I need you to go in this State House where every single member of the House is sitting and everyone in the Senate is in there, and I need you to make sure they hear your voice. And I want you to make sure that they know that you ain't going away. But I've got a challenge. Will you do one challenge with me? Say yes. I want you to challenge every single legislator to spend a day in the classroom with you next fall. And then I challenge you to make sure that when we go next year to hold elections, that you remember the power that you have today. Because I teach. I teach. I teach. I teach. I teach. I teach. I teach.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Lisa Ellis.
What a day. What a day. Ladies and gentlemen, as Senator Fanning stated, the work is just beginning. Look around you. Take this passion, this rejuvenation that you have in your hearts, and take it back to your classrooms, back to your schools. Talk to your fellow educators who are not able to make it here. Get band together. Let's create that spider web. It does not start. There are over 10,000 people here, but we have 53,000 teachers in this state. We need 53,000 teachers here making their voices heard. It is up to us. Nobody is doing it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. Thank you for being here, and I hope that you have got that passion to stand up for yourself and your students, and you're going to take it back with you, and you're not going to let anybody dim it anymore. Thank you.
At this time, you're invited to stay on the State House grounds. You're allowed to cheer. You're allowed to rally. If you have a meeting set up with one of your House members or senators, we encourage you to go and do that. But we would also like to remind you that as you leave today, please pick up your trash. As we have already said, SE for Ed is a teacher organization started by teachers for teachers. We do not have money for large fines, so please help us by picking up your trash. The Progressive Network of South Carolina is taking up donations to help with cleanup. If you are willing to donate just $1, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Educators, please give yourselves a round of applause. Enjoy your time here in downtown Columbia. Take advantage of the discounts that are being offered to us for the hard work that you do day in and day out. Take your teacher ID and you enjoy the rest of the day. Show South Carolina that we are here. Thank you so much. If all SE for Ed board members would please come up to the stage, we would greatly appreciate it.